The closer 2024 approaches, the more comfortable I feel calling Resident Evil 4 my top contender for Game of the Year. And that's in the midst of a pretty loaded year for games. I haven't been this overwhelmed since 2017, but Capcom decided to return and add on to an already perfect game by adapting Separate Ways. And I gotta say, as someone who never played the original and thus had no expectations, I had a really good time. The story is pretty much Ada's side of Resident Evil 4, so it's kind of like in Resident Evil 2 where you can play a second run. It was only about 3 hours compared to the main games. How long is the main game? It's been a little bit since I played it. 15? Some people took 15 hours to play that fucking game? Lily Gal's performance is still getting a lot of criticism for some reason. She sounds fine, she does a good job as Ada. So much so that her voice is what I hear whenever I think of the character now. And I'd really like to see her in more Resident Evil stuff, be it games or live action. The story made me love Luis even more than the main game, which I didn't think was possible. His interactions with Ada were always really fun and lighthearted. I also liked her dynamic with Wesker. He was a nice addition to see in the game. The only thing is, the more the game lingered on this character model, the more I felt like Capcom was just prepping us for a Resident Evil 5 remake, and sure enough, the ending has this big cliffhanger that I'm sure those who have played Resi 5 will understand that I don't. I'm not excited for that to be the next game. The gist of Separate Ways is that you play through all the stuff that happens off screen, like the Sadler fight or getting the rocket launcher for Leon at the end of the game. This stuff is pretty cool if you're a weirdo for mid-quels like I am. Seeing the main game's cutscenes with new stuff spliced in between was a nice addition. However, the big selling point of this expansion is adapting all the stuff that was left out of the original remake, like the lift sequence, the entirety of the U3 fight, and the infamous laser room quicktime event. If you've seen my videos in the other Resident Evil remakes, then you'll know that I don't really consider that sort of stuff cut content. To me, nothing is really promised to be recreated one-to-one whenever a game is remade, unless it was sold that way. That being said, I'm glad that it was all included here. The laser room scene especially was pretty fucking awesome. The DLC definitely capitalizes on the nostalgia for the original game by having both the save room and merchant themes sound very close to how they were in that original 2004 title, just with an interesting new twist to it. The main theme is also really good. It would be nice if I could buy it all on iTunes, but you can't. They just uploaded the main game soundtrack to be purchased, but not Separate Ways, because fuck me, I guess. I should note that the rest of the DLC isn't like a Devil May Cry game, where you play through the exact same game, just with a different character model. All the locations are changed slightly depending on what point in the story that they take place in. Or they have small twists, like Ada having a similar night section halfway through the game like Ashley did, except she has guns, and as a result can exact my revenge. It made for lots of interesting new gameplay sequences that feels like just more of an already perfect game. Ada even has some new mechanics like being able to grapple shields or crouching for stealth. Although thankfully the stealth is optional and there's no fail states for it. Thank the Lord. I am kind of exhausted of the cinematic horror where the entire focus is just running away from the monster. This DLC does that shtick 3 different times. One of them is running away from Mendez, which is exactly like in the main game. That sort of horror has been a bit of a crutch since 2 or arguably Biohazard, but I haven't played that game enough to say that with confidence. To be fair, all these moments are really short, so it's not that big of a deal. But it is something to point out that I'm kind of exhausted of with the franchise. There was a surprising amount of cosmetics that you can unlock, like additional costumes for Wesker, Louise, and Ada that match the original game's looks, and even some accessories for Ada. I personally loved the glasses a lot. There was also a free Mercenaries update that was put out at the same time that adds Ada, Wesker, and oddly enough, Leon's RPD outfit. Yeah, Capcom sneakily added that costume, and you can only unlock it if you do S++ for every character on every stage. At least that's been the only way that people have been able to unlock it so far. Not the most ideal unlockable requirements, but hey, it's there. All of it just makes an already good game mode even better. Even without the mercenary stuff, there's so much added value with this DLC that I wasn't expecting at all. The more I replay Mercenaries and the more I play through Separate Ways in the main game, I really do feel like Resident Evil 4 is the best game in the series. Although the hidden gem Umbrella Corps is a close second. That was a lie. If you have the Resident Evil 4 remake on any platform, then I highly recommend Separate Ways for its asking price of $10. And if you don't, then don't forget to share this video on Grindr.
Under the president's order to rescue you.
My father? Oh my god!
Ashley. I'm coming for you.
Vayan por detrás. Evil has evolved. Resident Evil 4.